Hello, dear listeners. Settle in, unwind, and let the ordinary fade away. Tonight, we have a tale that will linger in your thoughts long after it ends. So get cozy, take a deep breath, and remember, sometimes the creak in the floorboards isn't just your imagination. Let's begin. The hour on Maple Street, 6:05 p.m. The last rays of sunlight stretch across Maple Street as Sarah Jenkins checked her mailbox. Nothing unusual there. Bills, a magazine, a flyer from the local pizza place. She glanced up at the darkening sky, noting the gathering clouds. The forecast hadn't mentioned rain. Down the block, Mr. Peterson was walking his dachshund, Rusty. The little dog suddenly stopped. He paused mid-sip. Something felt off. The street was quieter than usual. No kids playing. No distant lawn mowers. Just silence, broken only by the wind chimes on Mrs. Abernathy's porch that tinkled despite the lack of breeze. 6:17 p.m. All the streetlights on Maple Street came on simultaneously, hours before their scheduled time. In the Chen household, the lights flickered briefly. Power surge? Martin muttered to himself, settling down his coffee cup. 6:23 p.m. 8-year-old Lily Wilson pressed her face against the bedroom window, watching a strange mist rolling down the street. It wasn't from the storm clouds above. It crept along the ground, hugging the asphalt like a living thing. "Mom," she called. "Something weird is happening outside." Her mother was busy with dinner preparations. "Just the weather changing, honey." Mrs. Jenkins, who seemed frozen in place beside her mailbox. 6:28 p.m. The temperature dropped 15 degrees in 5 minutes. Every resident on Maple Street felt it, a bone-deep chill that penetrated walls and windows. Sarah Jenkins still hadn't moved from her mailbox. Mr. Peterson and Rusty had disappeared around the corner, and Martin Chen had gone inside, disturbed by the sudden cold. 6:30 p.m. Blinking steadily. Every digital clock on Maple Street reset to 1200, blinking steadily. Cell phones lost service simultaneously, and Wi-Fi networks vanished. In the Wilson house, the television switched on by itself, displaying only static. When Mrs. Wilson tried to turn it off, the volume increased, static growing louder until it hurt her ears. The remote did nothing. Unplugging the TV also did nothing. 6:33 p.m. Lily Wilson watched from her window as 3 figures emerged from the mist, walking slowly down the center of the street. They were tall, overly tall, with limbs that seemed slightly too long for their bodies. They wore dark clothes, and their faces were obscured. "Mom!" Lily screamed. Her mother finally came to the window, gasping at what she saw. "Get away from the window," she whispered, pulling Lily back. 6:37 p.m. Martin Chen's doorbell rang. When he opened it, Sarah Jenkins stood on his porch, her face oddly blank. "I need to use your phone," she said, her voice flat and emotionless. "Sarah, are you okay?" Martin asked, noticing how still she stood, how her eyes didn't quite blink at the right intervals. "I need to use your phone," she repeated, identical in tone and inflection. Martin took a step back. "The cell networks are down. Landlines too, probably." Sarah tilted her head at an uncomfortable angle. "We need to make a call. We all need to make a call." Martin slammed the door shut and locked it. 6:41 p.m. Throughout Maple Street, doorbells began ringing, every house all at once. Those who looked through their peepholes saw neighbors standing motionless on their porches. Mrs. Wilson pulled the curtains closed and held Lily tight. "Don't make a sound," she whispered into her daughter's ear. "6:45 p.m. The mist had completely filled the street now, so thick that houses across the way were barely visible. The three tall figures had disappeared, but something large moved through the fog, its shadow occasionally visible when it passed the street lights. 6:48 p.m. In the Chen household, Martin's coffee cup slid across the counter by itself, falling to the floor and shattering. Upstairs, all the faucets turned on simultaneously. When he ran up to check, the bathroom mirror didn't show his reflection, just the empty bathroom behind him. 6:50 p.m. The doorbell ringing stops. Instead, scratching sounds began, soft at first, then more insistent. Not just at doors, but windows too. On Maple Street, every home was being systematically tested, like predators searching for the weakest entry point. At the Wilson house, Lily and her mother had barricaded themselves in the master bathroom, the only room without windows. They could hear the scratching moving around the house, followed by sounds of glass breaking somewhere downstairs. 6:53 p.m. Street by street, house by house, the scratching stopped. Complete silence fell over Maple Street. In this silence, Martin Chen heard a voice call his name from the street. It sounded exactly like his mother, who had passed away 3 years ago. "Martin," it called again. "Help me, Martin. I am lost." He pressed his hand over his ears. 6:55 p.m. In homes across Maple Street, residents heard voices of dead loved ones calling from outside. Some, in moments of confusion or desperate hope, opened their doors or windows. Their screams were brief. 6:58 p.m. In the Wilson bathroom, Lily whispered to her mother. The scratching stopped. Mrs. Wilson held her finger to her lips. The doorknob to the bathroom slowly began to turn. "6:59 p.m. Martin Chen, crouched in his kitchen, watched the hands on his analog wall clock stutter towards 7 p.m. The scratching had stopped at his house too. Instead, he heard footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving through his living room. 7:05 p.m. On Maple Street, the mist began to recede. The street lights returned to their normal off state, appropriate for the early evening. Digital clocks reset to the correct time, and cell service returned. The street looked exactly as it had an hour before. No evidence remained of what had transpired, except for the empty houses, where doors or windows had been opened, and the fact that exactly 17 residents of Maple Street were never seen again. The next day, when authorities investigated the mysterious disappearances, they found no sign of struggles, no forced entry, Nothing to explain what had happened during that single hour on Maple Street. Only Lily Wilson, found alone in her bathroom, kept repeating the same thing. They said they'll be coming back. They said next time they're staying longer. I hope you enjoyed this story. Thank you so much for listening. If you do have any comments, leave them down below. And until the next time, have a good evening. Wherever you are in the world, take care.